President Bush once said that we are sometimes faulted for a naive faith that liberty can change the world. But if that's an error, it began with reading too much John Locke. George Bush is not the only person who sees John Locke as the biggest part of the foundation on America. John Locke was an important Enlightenment thinker in the 15th century and studied with philosophy in Europe. From examining the works of the Enlightenment thinker John Locke, it is clear that his idea of the human mind and equality changed the American Revolution and influenced the rights that we have today. The Enlightenment was an intellectual, philosophical, culture, and social movement that was in England, France, and Germany, and other parts of Europe during the 1700s. It started from the scientific revolution, which had begun as early as the 1500s. This lasted around 15 years. Also, during this time, there was harsh injustices that would eventually offend and scare Europeans into change. Science was that as a form of piety and appreciation of God's creation, but was also frequently regarded as heresy, and those who tried to explain miracles and other matters of faith faced harsh punishment. The scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, however, opened a path for independent thought in the fields of mathematics, astronomy, physics, politics, economics, and philosophy. The amount of new knowledge that emerged was staggering. The Enlightenment also prompted the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, which provided rural dwellers with jobs and new cities in which to live. The Enlightenment was a huge part in the making of the United States and the amazing democracy it is today. Enlightenment thinkers' thought soon permeated both European and American life, from improved women's rights to more efficient steam engines, from fairer judicial systems to increased educational opportunities, from revolution economics theories to which array of literature and music. The Enlightenment was an important time period in history, but there were important people that contributed hugely to that, such as John Locke. John Locke was born in 1632 near Bristol, England. He was raised by his dad. His mom died while he was still at an early age. Locke's father was strict and made Locke study grammar and languages such as Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and Arabic. When Locke was 20, he entered Oxford University. Here, he got his BA and MA and became a tutor at Oxford for Greek and Latin. John's father died in 1661. He got a small inheritance from his death. Locke later fell in love with new sciences he produced and interest for experimental and empirical methods. In 1667, he left his academic life for the political world of London. While in London, Locke did not stop practicing his science studies. He frequently had gatherings with a few friends with the main topic concerning the limits of human understanding. On October 28th, 1704, while writing the fourth letter on toleration, John Locke died. John Locke had many accomplishments, and he had many important key ideas. John Locke believed that the mind of humans are just like a blank piece of paper before experience. He thought that experience makes the ideas that are like the writing on paper. Also, experience provides two sources of ideas, sensation and reflection. In sensation, the mind is passive. The sensation receives input from external objects, while in reflection, the mind is active, which produces new ideas by taking notice previous idea by taking previous ideas provided through sensation. The University of Chicago created this source in 2001. John Locke was studying the human mind and his sciences. First, our senses conversant about particular sensible objects, depending wholly upon our senses, and derived by them to the understanding I call sensation. Secondly, the other fountain from which experience furnishes the understanding with ideas is from these received into our understandings as distinct ideas as we do from bodies affecting our senses. This passage means that everything you know is by experience. The first one is sensation, and the other one is called reflection. He says that if the mind does not have an experience of something, then it cannot have an idea of that certain something. The audience that John Locke was looking for was anyone who wanted to hear his opinions about the human mind. John Locke wants his reader to understand his point of view and beliefs of the human mind, not just our sense, but also about ideas and different sensations. John Locke's ideas were important, but he also had a big impact on certain things, just like America we live in today. John Locke, he degraded himself and became a single private person without power, at which point he no longer had any right to rule over people. John Locke was this, while the French and Americans were, when the Americans were trying to rebel, John Locke by asserting the right to rebel against an unjust government, Locke gave the colonists a matchless arsenal in their struggle. Locke's concise but eloquent declaration of individual man's inherent rights changed but what had been sentiment into burning conviction. From this, John Locke's impacted the Declaration and also the Bill of Rights. One of John Locke's friends that he met with in one of his friendly gatherings in London came up with the famous quote, "Give me liberty or give me death," which most people know today. John Locke has had a big influence on the world that we live in today. Not just the world, but the U.S. John Locke's ideas and impacts have affected the rights as an individual and how you live today. Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention. Obey.